You're listening to The Implanted Word with Pastor Bill Gem of Grace Church in Amarillo, Texas.
The Implanted Word, your word in me.
He knows how to bring a promise to you. I got thinking at 4 o'clock this morning. I've been saved 53 years. And I went back in my brain, I thought, how many specific promises has God brought to me before anything happened? 17. I thought I should write a book on this. 17 specific promises that God gave to me before anything ever happened.
We often forget that the struggles we face aren't just random, they're spiritual. Scripture tells us that we have many enemies who want to steal, kill, and destroy. And we feel that pressure daily. But here's the hope. You are not fighting alone. God is on your side, and He's given you His full armor: truth, righteousness, faith, salvation, and His Word. Today, Pastor Bill will tell you that spiritual battles require spiritual protection. So stand firm. Clothed in God's armor, you are guarded and empowered for victory. Now, here's Pastor Bill in the book of Acts chapter 25 as he continues his message, God's Protection on Groundhog Day.
I turn from my ways into your love. Humble myself and accept your word. Your word planted in me is able to save my soul. Your word in me, the implanted word. Your word in me, the implanted word.
What's the promise? Jesus says, you know what? You did a really good job, and I'm going to get you to Rome. Now, Paul didn't know it was going to be 2 years, but he's going to get him to Rome. Before you claim that promise for yourself, you can't. That promise wasn't given to you. That promise was given to Paul. Well, I want to go to Rome. Well, get your own promise. That promise was for Paul. We can learn that Jesus gives promises, but you say, no, I want a personal promise. Well, I'm sorry. I've read the Bible like 100 times. I keep looking for Bill Gem in the Bible. Did you know my name is not in the Bible? I don't want to burst your bubble, but neither is yours. Even if you have a biblical name, it's not your last name either. Your name's not mentioned there. I hate to bring bad news, but I've checked. Amarillo by morning is not in the Bible. Not. Yeah, but Texas has got to be in the Bible. Sorry. Texas isn't in there either. See, what I'm trying to share with you, we know these great truths of the Bible and promises that we can claim, but did you know, watch this, did you know God knows how to give you personal promises? I don't know what Groundhog Day you're in, but God knows how to come along to you personally and say, be of good cheer. I'm going to do this with your life and get you there. Now, I've warned you, be careful of Taco Bell dreams. Be careful of Taco Bell dreams. Because sometimes we think God's talking to us, and it was just a bad burrito that you got from Taco Bell. But don't let that get in the way that God knows how to talk to you personally. This sermon, by the way, I was frustrated on Monday because 25's got nothing. Jesus talked to me about 4 o'clock in the morning. He said, you got everything you need. It's a Groundhog Day deal. Now, whether you want to believe that or not, I believed it. Matter of fact, that's the title I put on the sermon. He knows how to bring a promise to you. I got thinking at 4 o'clock this morning. I've been saved 53 years. And I went back in my brain, I thought, how many specific promises has God brought to me before anything happened? 17. I thought I should write a book on this. 17 specific promises that God gave to me before anything ever happened. 16 of those 17, I know I've already received the blessing. I still have a 17th, and it's written on my hand. God knows how to give you personal blessings. And somehow when I say the voice of God, I can't pull out my phone and tape record what I heard, but I heard it. I heard it. I can't bring it to you and prove it with a video or even anything, but I know that's what God said to me. I know it. I know it. Because of who I am in Jesus Christ, the same Jesus that showed up for Paul has shown up in my prison many times. It affects you. One of the most significant of the 16, all of them are life-changing. All of them required obedience. All of them required believing what I heard that God wanted me to do. I was so frustrated. I was writing in my journal that I got to go plant a new church. You see, the church I was in, God had been faithful. And when we were downtown at the Y, when we were on the boulevard, God gave us a brand new building, a brand new church building. We had added on to it, the whole dirt story. We were getting ready to add on again. But I was so frustrated because everybody that came was nice. They brought their Bible, nice family, nice part of town, everybody was nice. There's nothing wrong with nice. Nothing wrong with nice. I wasn't made for nice. I actually thought, how did I end up with a nice church? Now, there again, I'm not knocking nice people. There's nice people in the room, but then there's a bunch of people like me. We're just a bunch of weirdos. I was thinking, I got to go start a church, maybe in Kosovo or somewhere. I got to do something. It was in that frustration. And we were planning to add on to the gymnasium we already built. We were growing. There was nothing wrong with church. It was like, Lord, I wasn't made for this. I don't know how I ended up. And when FERS was way back, this is like 21 years ago, when FERS was over here, I was at lunch with some guys. Dennis Clouch said, hey, instead of adding on, have you ever thought about buying that grocery store? He was joking at lunch. But when he said those words, he had no idea what I was writing in my journal. I went from FERS to that window right there. And I looked through the window of this gorgeous grocery store. Gorgeous. This was the most dumped out, leftover, railroad tracks, gutted, nothing in this building but pigeons, and they left all these pigeon presents everywhere. I wasn't in the building. I just looked through the window, and there was no walls. There was nothing. I could see all the way to the back. And I heard God's voice. And this is what he said. This is your deal, and it's not nice. Whoa! If you're me, I'm thinking, yes, yes, yes. If you're the nice white church, they're thinking, no, no, no. To show you how much I believed it, by the time I got back to my secretary, I walked in. This is like 10 minutes after I looked through the window. I walked in, I told her, we're moving. She said, we're moving. I said, yeah, we're going to Washington. And she laughed. She said, we're not going to do that. That was on Wednesday. By Sunday, I'm preaching it. What do you got to go for? All I know is what God told me. And like I told you, I've got 16, 17 stories like this. So it's not like my first rodeo, but this was the biggest one because I'm taking a church that's well established and I'm bringing them back to what? Western Plains, Tascosa, San Jacinto. I actually had people in our church, they didn't want those kids coming to our youth group. What do you mean those kids? I love those kids. So I wasn't having a big old fight because I didn't know, but I found out later half that church would not come here. So, did I tell you we didn't have any money? Did I tell you that we were sitting on a really nice building? Did I tell you radios happening all at the same time? You know, God sometimes will put you in a place where it's like they're pulling me apart. Or is that exactly what God wants to have happen? It's just really, really hard. Because you get the promise, I hear the voice, but then you got this whole conspiracy thing going on. You say conspiracy, yeah, look at, this is still checking out the context. Do you remember the conspiracy? Chapter 23, verse 12. I mean, he got the promise in verse 11, but verse 12. And when it was day, some of the Jews banded together, bound themselves under an oath, saying that they would neither eat nor drink until they had killed Paul. Now, there was more than 40 who had formed this conspiracy. They came to the chief priests, the elders, and said, we have bound ourselves under a great oath that we will eat nothing until we have killed Paul. Now, you therefore, together with the council, suggest to the commander, Claudius, that he be brought down to you tomorrow, as though you were going to make further inquiries concerning him. But we are ready to kill Paul, to kill him before he comes near. Jesus met him there in the barracks. But the very next day, you got kill Paul, kill Paul, kill Paul. 40 guys that won't eat or drink until we stick them. Remember, they're called the dagger men, and they mean it. Did you know God knows all your problems before they happen? Did you know that you also have a conspiracy against you? Did you know you have an enemy who wants to kill and steal and destroy you? You say, I want him to go away. He's not going to go away. That's why you have to put on full armor. But I am thankful that I get to be reminded he had a conspiracy theory against him. By the way, it wasn't a theory, it was true. And you have one against you. So you hear from God and you think, all right, take courage, I'm going to do this. But then here comes all of the things of the enemy that you would never, ever guess. God knows how to protect you even in the middle of a conspiracy. The promise is still true. Remember, we saw how Paul, his nephew, comes and says, hey, I got wind. They're going to stick you like tomorrow. Paul tells him to go to Claudius. So his nephew goes to Claudius. Remember the protection that happens right there? This is still just picking up the content. God's protection. Claudius gets 470 soldiers. You got 40 guys. God gave Paul 470 soldiers. It's actually in the text. He gets a letter from Claudius that tells all of the story that Claudius knew. And then he gets Felix's decision. He gets down to Caesarea. So he gets out of Jerusalem. The Stickham guys, they don't get a chance. Gets down to Caesarea. That's 65 miles away. Felix is the governor. That's when we're introduced to him. And then here comes the Sanhedrin with Ananias to bring charges in Caesarea at Felix's court. Then Felix makes a decision. This is all background. The promise is in chapter 23, verse 11. The story continues until we get to chapter 24, really close to picking up new stuff. Chapter 24. Felix's decision at this court in Caesarea. Verse 23, so he commanded the centurion to keep Paul and let him have liberty and told him not to forbid any of his friends to visit him. So Felix decides basically to do nothing but put him on hold. And then you have the opportunity for the gospel to be shared in chapter 24 through 27. I guess that'd be a good place to stop, except I haven't started preaching yet. The new text. Everything I just told you, I've already preached. But you won't understand the Groundhog Day until you go through that again. Because that's a lot of stuff. Then you get to verse 27, the old story continues. We just read this, but after 2 years, Porcius Festus, new guy, he's 70 years old, succeeded Felix. And Felix, wanting to do the Jews a favor. Oh no. Felix wants to do the Jews a favor. Now, I was a good Bible student. When I first looked at this, I had to, I'm reading ahead, so I see favor there. And then I jump down to 25, verse 3, and then I see asking a favor against him that he would summon him to Jerusalem. Okay, the Jews are asking a favor of Festus. So Felix was doing a favor. Now, Festus, they're going to be asking a favor of him. And then look at verse 9. We're going to get to verse 9, trust me, and it won't take that long. But Festus wanting to do the Jews a favor. Now wait, the old story continues. We've already covered 2 long years. That should be at 2 long years. And then continued political favors. So he's 2 years, but now I got this continued political favors. You got the Jews with Felix. You got Felix with the Jews, but then you get Festus with the Jews and the Jews with, you got all this political favor stuff going on. I don't know about you, but I hate it. I know the Jews hate. They hate Rome. Anything to do with Rome. especially the leadership of Rome. Why are you doing favors? Why are you asking for favors? I know the Romans don't want to be where they are. Well, why are you doing favors? Well, that's just how politics rolls. Isn't that what we see on the news all the time? Everybody's asking for favors. That's one reason why I can say it this way. I just hate politicians and I hate politics. Now, I pray for them. I understand that. I get that vibe. But I'm not out to do favors. I'm out to obey the word of God. I'm out to do it. So I'm just saying, so you got all these continued political favors. It's all intertwined with the story, which makes Groundhog Day all the worse. It does. But it's 3 times in the scripture. I can't ignore that. But then I see this old story continues. It's 2 years long. It has political favors, but it's got new people. Here's what you don't know. Whatever groundhog situation you don't know about the new people coming into your life. You don't know that. Paul didn't know it. He had never met these guys. Chapter 25, new ground. Now, when Festus, he's the new governor, 70 years old, had come into the province, that's be Israel and all that area of Caesarea, after 3 days. He might be 70, but he's only been on the job 3 days. He wants to get things right. He's a go-getter. After 3 days, he went up from Caesarea to Jerusalem. That's 65 miles away. I really doubt that he had any time to meet the Apostle Paul. It's very complicated. Paul's there. Maybe he did. Most likely he didn't. He's checking out the territory. After 3 days, he went up from Caesarea to Jerusalem. Then the high priest, by the way, that was Ananias, but this is a new high priest. This is Ishmael. Same Sanhedrin, same agenda, but you got a new guy, Festus, and a new high priest. These are new people. And the chief men of the Jews informed him, Festus, against Paul. And they petitioned him, Festus, asking a favor against him, that Festus would summon Paul to Jerusalem. Well, that's what happened 2 years ago. That's the same story all over again. You mean it's the same do-over and over? Oh, there might be new people involved, but it's like I'm stuck. And poor Paul down there, man, you're a goner. No, he has a promise. And I'm sure, they didn't have the internet. He wasn't following this on Twitter. Like, what's the conspiracy going on? And what are they talking about now? God knows exactly what's going on. And what the real agenda is, because the real agenda is kill Paul. I doubt Festus knows that because they're all playing politics. And that's what they really want. But they're asking a favor against him that he would summon. Hey, could you get that prisoner Paul up here so we can have him on trial in Jerusalem? What's their motive? What's their goal? It's right there at the end of verse 3. While they lay in ambush along the road to kill him. God knows exactly what your enemies want to do. Quote by Wiersbe on that point. Kill Paul had been the cry of the unbelieving Jews ever since Paul had arrived in Jerusalem more than 2 years before. However, Festus knew nothing of this. Paul had been warned of this danger, but he had also been assured that the Lord would protect him from the promise, use his witness, and then take him safely to Rome. He had that. The situation was growing more serious, for now it was the council itself, not the 40 guys. It was the council itself and not a group of outsiders that was plotting Paul's death. You would think that their anger would have subsided after 2 years, but it had not. Satan, the murderer, was hard at work. To encourage you guys a little bit, I read this from Tripp, totally different source, but Tripp said this: God has not forgotten you. He has not singled you out for a particular abuse. He is near and he is active. In love, he is working out your biggest problem. In love, he is working out your biggest problem. And he will not stop working until the job is done. Translated, we don't have to live in Groundhog Day forever. For me, the key verse of this section is verse 4. Protection from the new guy, Festus. Now, remember, Festus doesn't know everything you know. He doesn't know that. He's only been on the job 3 days. He's going to stay 10 days up in Jerusalem. But Festus, they said, we want you to bring him up here. But Festus answered that Paul should be kept at Caesarea, and that Festus, he himself, was going there shortly. Translated, what they want him to do, the political favors they're asking for. This, hey, we're in Jerusalem. Hey, would you just bring Paul up here for trial? Festus answered that Paul should be kept at Caesarea. In other words, the promise made to Paul by Jesus, Festus doesn't know that. He doesn't know they're going to try to kill him. He doesn't know that. But when he is asked this favor, somehow the new guy knew to say no. I think we'll have the trial down in Caesarea. He hangs out with them another 10 days, but I'm just telling you, the new guy said no. The new guy was the man that God used to protect Paul from the guys that wanted. You're not catching this. I know you're not catching this. There's new people in your life all the time, and sometimes you don't know that those new people, you think, well, they're just somebody new. No, sometimes they're the key for the situation you're in, and you just don't know it. God told me to get this building. I went to my mover and shakers at the time, and we figured out how to get a swing loan and buy the building even when you don't have any money. Didn't have any money. So they wanted $2 million for the building. We bought it. We offered them $600,000, and we bought it for $780,000. This building has 112,000 square feet, besides the parking lot and everything else. When you do the math, that's $7.27 a square foot. In case you don't know, that's a really good deal. So things were popping pretty quick. We don't have any money, but you know what? God just gave us away with a swing loan and all this kind of stuff. And the Germans sold it to us. Now we got it. So I'm thinking, okay, God gave me the promise. It took about 2 months before, okay, we got the building. A lot of people laughing at me, a lot of people mad, but we got the building. So now I don't know what God's going to do. So somehow we'll remodel it. And God went silent. And we ran out of ideas. Trying to figure, well, what do we do next? What do we do next? What do we do next? And the bottom line is, you got nothing. People are leaving. Nobody's excited about this building anymore. And 2 years go. I would come into this building. There was no walls, no stage. There's nothing in it except pigeons. And I would yell at God. Not in a bad way. What are you doing? I'm still here. You told me to come.
The implanted word.
Thank you for listening to another episode of The Implanted Word. Pastor Bill is digging deep into the amazing truth that's found in the book of Acts. Now, Acts was written by Dr. Luke. It's pretty much a continuation of the Gospel of Luke. He picks up where his gospel left off. Luke acted kind of like a journalist of his time. As a follower of the apostles, he gathered up all their first-hand accounts about Jesus in his gospel. Now, in the book of Acts, he continues to record even more first-hand accounts, as well as his own perspective and experiences, as Luke reveals that he was in the action when he says things like, "We decided to leave for Macedonia at once." It's the story of what happened to the church after Jesus ascended into heaven. And the wonderful thing is, we as Christians are kind of still writing Acts. We're a part of what God is still doing through His church. The Implanted Word comes to you from Grace Church in Amarillo, Texas. Do you have any questions about today's episode, or would you like to share how it impacted your life? You can give us a call at 806-680-2820. We'll be happy to give you any information about our church, get to know you, and pray for you. Let's give Jesus glory together. Again, that number is 806-680-2820. You can also check us out online at theimplantedword.com. You'll find more information if you click on the link for Grace Church at the top of the page. We appreciate you listening today. Please tune in again soon to The Implanted Word.